Hello, program leads. I want to take a few moments to walk you through this little report that we have. We have a request for information to develop this report, and I do think it's a good idea. It kind of helps focus us a little bit. It's something we've done before in the past, but maybe just a little bit different format. So what administration wants to know are what major projects did we do in the last academic year? And what are the major projects that we have going on for this academic year? So in previous years, we have done goal setting and project tracking, etc. So this is kind of similar to that. So I'd like you to take a few moments of your time and think about what we completed in that last academic year for your program, and then take some ideas and forward thinking of what you want to do. And I've developed this report here to hopefully capture some of those ideas. But it's a work in progress. So if we need to change something, or if you got a recommendation, feel free to shoot it out there, and we can update this kind of as we go, or we'll let Tim change this around. One of my few last jobs with certificates is to complete this report and then work with Tim on the completion of this report. Also something called your academic program reports, which I'm muddling through. All right, so let's take a look at this particular thing, though, that I'm asking you to do. We do have a hard deadline, and then Tim and I and Kirsten and Angie are going to have some input on this as well. So we have a due date that we have, but so we need to have your input, as I'm looking at the date here, by January 26th. So please have that done. Kirsten will be coordinating with you on the completion of this document. So if you need to work with her on this, that's fine. If it, but let her coordinate that with you. But know that we have to get to the 26th where this thing needs to be completed. All right, so let's take a look at this form. Projects, program projects, and initiatives. As I've outlined in the email, hopefully I won't go over that, but these projects, this is not your day-to-day stuff that you're doing. So this has not changed my syllabus. It's not that kind of stuff. It's that higher order projects, kind of impacting the program. So just think of that, not the day-to-day stuff, kind of the special things that we do. Again, I'll get plenty of examples in the body of the email. So with this, you're going to be putting your program name in here, obviously, in the academic year. Again, we've got to do the previous academic year. So we've got to capture whatever we did back then in 17-18 and put that in there. And then also the current academic year, 18-19. And then hopefully going forward, this can be done in a more proactive fashion, but we're doing a little bit of reactive stuff right now. Please plug in the dean, the director, in your case you have Tim, and the lead. And if you have two leads, you can put that in there. Now in this section, I'm going to remove my picture here. So in this section down here where it says Health Science Division Goals, I'm going to be having those goals plugged in there. So the Division of Health Sciences, which Kim Watson is the dean for that, you're going to have numbers in here. And typically, for each one of the goals, I think we have 4 or 5. So I'm getting clarification from Kim on what those finalized goals are, but we're going to put those in there. What I'd like you to do, best efforts, is really any project or initiative that you do should be linked to what the division wants to do. We shouldn't be doing projects and initiatives that are outside of that particular year's focus. Okay, so if you can, try to tie those projects and initiatives to a goal. Out of these goal statements that will be populated in this area, and if maybe multiple goals, even better. Okay, so whatever we do should be linked to what we want to do, which are those goals. So that answers this question here. A brief little description about the project or the initiative that you're doing. Number of goals that it ties to. Again, if you have none, if it doesn't tie, that's okay. It's an orphan. We'll leave it there just to capture that information. Date started, so just ballpark that when you started it. Purpose and rationale. Why are you doing it? Maybe it's to improve student learning, to improve the classroom experience, which then, will lead to better learning and retention. So really, what is the ultimate goal of whatever that thing, that you're trying to do, that purpose and rationale? And then what is that, the anticipated outcome? I guess that could be the final goal. It could be, enhanced learning and retention, or greater faculty satisfaction. Maybe you did something for your faculty members. So why are you doing it, and what do you hope to get out of it? And what's the overall anticipated goal? This section here, resources needed and stakeholders involved, kind of a free area where if you need monies or support personnel or whatever that you might need or needed to complete that goal, that you capture that information. Also, typically whenever we do a project or initiative, we're doing it for somebody. Who are those somebodies? And did we involve those somebodies? If it's students, were they consulted on this change? Was the advisory consulted on this change or this project? That the project just didn't come up in a vacuum, that it's actually connected to someone, and you've asked for their input, like I'm asking for your input on this report. So stakeholders involved. I'm also probably going to add, now that I think about it, probably say involved or impacted. Okay, so that's kind of a combination on there. All right, target date. When do you hope to have it done? We often don't make our target dates, but that's okay. At least you got to have something to point to, an aspirational date to have that particular project or initiative done, and then the date that you actually finished the project or initiative. Now, you may not finish a project. That's totally to be expected. You may start a project and it may come up to a dead end. That's okay too. What you'd want to do is capture that information in the notes and follow-up. So if the project wasn't finished, you can just say project was discontinued, did not align, with overall goals, whatever. Some reasoning why that particular project or initiative was discontinued. Could have been lack of resources. That's perfectly fair, maybe fair. Or follow-up. Maybe that project or initiative is going to be carried over to the next year. Perfectly fine. Put that in these notes and follow-up sections. Now, I've only limited to about, 5 or 6 goals or initiatives, projects or initiatives. And honestly, when you look at it, that's pretty reaching. If you have 5, you're probably reaching too far. There's no way that, anybody, with in an academic year, that you have these major projects and initiatives that are that many. So it's okay if you only have 2 or 3. Don't feel like you have to fill the page on this. So there you go. There's a walkthrough. You're going to do one retroactively, what we did for 17-18, and then what we're doing for 18-19. Now here's one of them I'll give you, and I talk about it in the email, and that's our PAMS. So PAMS started about 3 years ago, shortly before I came onto the program, and we were looking at sort of some intrusive advising techniques, and what was being done with Tim and Paramedic really fit the bill with those intrusive advising techniques. So we've modified that a little bit for use for all, and that was the PAMs, the Progress Advising Meetings. So that's something that we did in 17-18. So I expect the PAMs to be on there. And that was a major deal. I mean, you had to have the time that you've taken for those PAMs. To do that, we had to develop a form for that. That part wasn't too hard. The purpose and rationale, I think, are pretty clear on why we were doing that, and the anticipated outcome was, better student learning, greater student satisfaction, and student retention. So remember, the PAMs weren't always to yes, the major purpose of the PAMs was to identify students at risk or that were struggling, but it could also, being telling a student, that feedback, that moment of feedback that, hey, you're doing a great job, you're an outstanding leader in the class. It can be that as well. So think about that on that anticipated outcome. Resources needed, stakeholders involved. Again, do your best in filling those areas, and target date and date finish. We did complete the PAMs. All of you have rolled those out. I would say we did complete that by the academic year. Some of you didn't quite get them all going in that first fall semester, but by spring, I think everybody was compliant and doing that. So there you go. That's kind of one that we did for the previous year. Okay, so there we go. Again, get these done. Listen to Kirsten. She's going to guide you through this process. She may set up some due dates other than that absolute due date. So I've told her to work with you, collect all of these from you, and then deliver them to Tim and myself. And then we're going to have to sit down on our end as a group, go through them. We may be adding some additional projects and initiatives for this year. Things that maybe, Tim and I have discussed on the side, but we need our time with these, because they're going to be due a few days after your hard due date. We got to turn right back around out and get them out to college leadership. So we're not sitting on these very long. We have to turn them around in about 3 days after that hard date on the 26th. So please work with Kirsten and make sure you get these things in by January 26th. All right, guys. Thanks.